What's going on, buddy?
Not much. So, where are you located now? Touring or just taking it easy?
Yeah, no, we just did rehearsals, and I'm home for about 10 days, and then we leave for the start of the world tour.
And how's the rehearsals coming along for the new album?
Oh, they went really well. We went over some new tunes, and some tunes that we haven't played for a while. Just kind of refining the set list that we're going to play on tour, and it's all good.
On the new album, Endgame, 1320, the song, reminds me a lot of 502 from So Far So Good So What.
Really, huh?
Yeah, the guitar line. Did you notice that?
Not at all. No, I mean it's a fast song based in the key of A. I mean, if it sounds reminiscent to that, that's not necessarily a bad thing, of course. But I didn't see the resemblance at all, to be honest with you.
Check it out again. The guitar notes. It's almost there. It's really good though.
Mm-hmm.
502 is one of my favorite songs, anyways. From the.
I love that song. It's a great song.
What's your favorite Megadeth song, basically, in the past?
Oh man, there's so many. I mean, right off the top of my head, of course, "Wake Up Dead" is one of my favorite songs. "The Conjuring." I mean, the entire Peace Sells album that's my favorite album, and I like every song on there. I think is amazing. So Black Friday, Conjuring, all that stuff. But there's so many songs that I love. But I would say just about anything from that record off the top of my head.
Yeah, So Far So Good So What is a great album also.
That's my second favorite album. Absolutely, yep.
When you replaced Nick Menza, how crazy were the auditions in 2004?
There really wasn't an audition. When that all went down, I mean, I was flown out there to basically just, to do the tour. So it was we were either gonna rehearse and everything went okay, and then we go on tour, which is exactly what happened, or the rehearsals would have been a failure, and then they would have had to postpone the tour and get another drummer. But I went in there knowing that I could cut the gig, and musically it wouldn't be a problem because I've been a fan of the band for years and played songs way back when anyway. So I knew I could cut the gig. But honestly, there were really no rehearsals for it. It was 6 days before the tour started, so I just flew in and we jumped right into rehearsals, and 6 days later we were on stage in Reno, Nevada.
No flops, everything went good.
Everything did go. It was the first show was really cool because the venue in Nevada, Reno, Nevada, we played the show we played. Some bonehead forgot to put up the barricades, so it was like an old school Megadeth show where people were just jumping on stage and just stage diving and the whole bit. Here I am up there playing, going, man, this is great. It's just like watching the old school videos and stuff. So it was a great way to start the tour. Of course. There should have been barricades there, and none of that would have happened. But to me, honestly, I'm kind of glad it was a great way to start off. You know what I mean? Lots of chaos and stage diving, and it was just really nutty stuff. So for me, it was the perfect way to start off the Megadeth tour.
Kind of like going back to the Wake Up Dead era video.
Absolutely, it was all. If you watch In My Darkest Hour, you watch the live clips from that video. People are just diving all over the place. It was like that and 10 times more. It was just a really crazy scene, but it was great. It was beautiful chaos. I like that.
For the video Headcrusher, who chose the girl and that became the champion in this? How long did it take to do the whole video? And
the video took, I think it was a 2-day shoot. Our stuff, the performance stuff, when we were performing, took a day, and I think they were doing some fight sequences and stuff the day before, so I believe it was a 2-day shoot. I have no idea who chose the main character of the video. I mean, obviously she's a very good at what she did. I don't even know what kind of martial arts she was doing. I didn't want to ask her in case she would have whipped my butt, but she was a really nice girl, and I think it turned out really well. She did a great job, and it was a lot of fun. The whole shoot was a lot of fun.
Do you find today that with the new album compared to your last album with Megadeth, it's spiking the same? Like with fan popularity and all that? People are looking at Megadeth the same way they did in the past?
Well, I mean, from the perspective of reviews and opinions from the journalists and the fans, I mean, this album got more positive response than United Abominations. We've gotten, Album of the Month in so many different magazines in Europe, and then just really great reviews across the board. I mean, I just found out yesterday our Endgame debuted on number 4 on the Canadian Billboard charts. We're number 1 on Canadian hard rock charts on Billboard. So that's quite an accomplishment, certainly for me, a guy growing up in small town Montreal, Canada. So it certainly doesn't suck having, a top 5 record, and United Abominations was top 5 last, when it came out as well. So I've had, 2 top 5 records in a row in Canada, 2 top 10s in a row in America. So it's been really great, for me, seeing all those great results.
Yeah, it is good also to see that Canada supports it still.
It's really picked up in the last, since, I've been in the band 5 years now, and I've noticed a really dramatic increase since we did those first shows across Canada. I mean, that whole tour was sold out, and it was great, but I've seen a much bigger increase now, which it really makes me happy. And, of course, now we're going to, further east in Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. That of course, thrills me. I've never been out there to play, so I'm ecstatic to start the North American part of the tour in over eastern Canada, so that makes me very happy.
In November 9th, you shall be in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's my place.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, My older brother Brian used to live in Halifax. He was out there for about 5 years. Must have been 15, 20 years ago, but, he enjoyed living there and said it's a beautiful place, so I'm looking forward to getting out there.
Recently, Dave Mustaine talked about Metallica's Death Magnetic. And that's compared to Endgame, and Endgame is better. Do you find that Endgame is going to be doing as well as Death Magnetic? And did you hear Death Magnetic?
In terms of record sales, you mean, compared to Death Magnetic?
Quality and stuff.
I mean, to be honest, you know what? It's hard for me to comment on something like that. I've heard maybe 2 songs on the new record, the new Metallica record. They sounded good to me. I mean, obviously they sell a ton of records. So from that standpoint, I mean, they sell pretty much more than any heavy metal band at the moment. So, but you know what? That doesn't interest me a whole lot. I mean, for me, I wish everybody well. I've got no. I don't view this as a competition or what's better than this, and that's just a bunch of crap to me. We just focus on Megadeth and doing the best we can, and putting out the best product we can, and hopefully you always hope that the record's as successful as possible. Anybody who doesn't want the record to succeed, I really wouldn't understand that mind frame. But all I focus on is Megadeth and what we're doing, and trying to play as many places as we can and do the best we can. I mean, obviously we're doing something right for us to come over to Eastern Canada. That's something that I didn't even know if we could ever do. So I'm thrilled about. We're just expanding to more and more markets over the course of time. So obviously we must be doing something right.
What's your take on Lars Ulrich, first of all, on drumming? Do you admire his drumming skills compared to yours?
Again, I mean, I don't compare myself or compare Lars to anybody. I mean, he does what he does, and he does it well within Metallica. Obviously, I mean, if he sucked, anybody who's not a great musician, they usually don't last too long. So, I wish Lars well. Obviously, he does a great job at what he does. He's one of the main guys in Metallica, and since the inception of the band. So. But again, I don't really focus or pay any attention to that. I focus on what I do, and wish everybody else well. Whatever their gig is or whatever they're doing, I wish them well. But I just stay focused on what my job is in Megadeth and what Megadeth does. So anybody else in any other bands, more power to them, and I wish them nothing but success.
Good way to look at it. Your drum
Sure.
influences, Shawn Drover.
Oh, Neil Peart, of course. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm Canadian. That's. I think there's an unwritten law. If you're a musician in Canada, Rush has to be one of your main influences. If you're in a rock band, but for me, that was to this day. I mean, I started 30 years ago playing drums when I was 13, and Rush is what inspired me to play. When I heard a record called All the Words of Stage, I mean that completely turned my musical world upside down. I just couldn't believe that a human being could play like that, and I immediately told my mom, I want to play drums. I don't want to play guitar like both my brothers and my dad did. I want to be a drummer, and it just went from there. And to this day, Neil is my main influence for rock music for a drummer, and Rush is my favorite rock band on the planet, hands down. So it all starts and ends with Rush. I mean, another Canadian band that was huge for me and still is to this day, Max Webster. I mean, Gary McCracken on drums was a huge influence on me. Max Webster is a huge musical influence on me as well to this day. I mean, I can go on about this for hours, but those are two good examples,
Actually, I seen Kim Mitchell the other day playing a gig in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I mean, Kim's a friend of mine in Glenn's. I mean, he's a fantastic guy, and he's got his radio show in Toronto on Q107 and stuff. So again, that was a big just to know him is a thrill for me, and he's a great human being and an amazing musician. So yeah, it's amazing he could still do it over 30 years later, like Rush. So that's an amazing thing in itself, isn't it?
Ever get the chance to meet Neil Peart?
Nope, haven't met him. My son met Gideon Alex here in Atlanta when they played a show down here. I was on tour, so unfortunately I couldn't meet them. But yeah, obviously that was something that I would love to do. But you never know if it's in the cards or not to meet somebody in another band. But yeah, I would definitely love to.
So you're a pure diehard Rush fan. That's interesting. Actually, there is not much people that talk about that today.
About Rush, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, that's just been my band for 30 years now. So for me, there is no, when you're talking about musicianship and a band who has played by their own rules and done everything their way, that to me is a very inspiring thing. And I kind of took that to heart, and wanted to be successful on my own terms as being a musician. Luckily for me, I ended up being in a band that doesn't really compromise and plays the kind of music that they want, which is, probably half the reason I joined the band in the first place. So I got lucky, but they laid down the blueprint for me to want to be how I wanted to play music and what kind of musician I wanted to be.
Now, Shawn, you obviously play guitar also, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you master all the songs on guitar before going on drums? Do you do that?
Oh God, no.
No, so you're not doing it like Gene Hoglan.
For guitar, that's more of a recreational thing. I've been playing for years, but I'm nowhere near as good as any top level guitar player, Dave, or our guitar player Chris, or my brother Glenn, or anything like that. I mean, I'm just kind of a frustrated shredder wannabe guy, But having said that, I mean, being a guitar player enabled me to write one of the songs on a new record called Headcrusher. I mean, that's a song that I wrote the music for, and in the end, Dave changed some parts, and it ended up being a collaboration. But the Headcrusher song musically comes from something that I wrote, so it certainly pays sometimes to learn another instrument. It certainly did for me.
That's awesome, and the Headcrusher is awesome. And if you got some credit in being able to manufacture some of them riffs, wow, power to you, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely, yeah. Worked out well.
Gene Hoglan's mentioned on your Wikipedia information, and I talked to him once, and he said that for him to go into a session, he's got to learn every guitar part to get to play the drums and, the stuff he does. So I just figured maybe you do the same. Well,
it makes sense. I think it makes sense to do it. I mean, Gene does a lot of different projects as well. As you know, he's been in a lot of great bands, and he's a great drummer and a really nice guy as well. But everybody has different ways of doing it. But obviously, when you write new songs, for me, I'm pretty similar to that. As so I have to know the song inside and out to cut a drum track for it. So, but I don't have to learn it on guitar. I just have to absorb it in my brain. You know what I mean? I have to know how the song's structured, and then lay the drum track down to it. But if I can learn it on guitar, I mean, I certainly do that as well. But I don't always go that way.
How many drumsticks you break in the night? You a power hitter?
I hit pretty hard, and I used to break, maybe one a show, maybe, not always. I switched to a lighter stick this past year, and for whatever reason, I barely break any sticks anymore, which of course is great. To break a stick live, especially when you're playing something fast and you have to replace the stick on the fly, it's not always a fun experience. So. Luckily for me, I'm using a stick right now, a Big Firth drumsticks that barely ever break. So I've been pretty lucky in that regard.
Any good Jeff Young stories?
I've never met Jeff. Nothing that Dave hasn't already expressed in the press. For me, he's a great guitar player. Oh, yeah. That was one of my favorite Megadeth lineups, certainly for myself. The So Far So Good So What lineup. I know Chuck. I mean, Chuck Behler, the drummer at that time, he always comes to see us when we play Detroit. And I always have great conversations with him. Real nice guy, and certainly a pleasure to know him. Jeff hasn't been out to any shows, but I certainly hope he does sometime. I'd like to meet him.
Does Chuck play in a band now?
The last time I spoke to him, he was talking about getting something going, but I don't know if he ever did. I'll certainly ask him next time we play. I think we're playing Grand Rapids, Michigan, on this tour that's coming up. So I don't know if he'll be at that show or not, but if he is, I'll certainly ask him. I hope he is.
Going on your recording process for the Endgame, how long did it take you to do those incredible drum tracks you did? And your drumming
7 days.
Really tight.
Yeah, it took 7 days.
7 days.
And you know, part of the reason for that really is because we really went over it when we demoed the record and wrote the songs. We really went through every song with a fine-tooth comb and arranged the song so well that, and I know them so well that when it was actually time to record the album for real, it was pretty easy. So I did, you know, average of 2 songs a day. Sometimes I did, maybe one day I did 3. So it worked out to about 7 days total. It was a real fun and pretty easy experience but you know, I was really prepared, and that's part of the reason why it went so quickly.
Well, Shawn, it's been a real pleasure talking to you today, and I look forward to seeing you in Halifax, Nova Scotia, November 9th, 2009.
Absolutely, man. Pleasure talking to you as well.
You take care, and good luck with the new album, Endgame.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.